If you think that that framing is not that interesting, wait till you hear that this record-breaking young phenom from New Jersey is 38 years old.
So Jon Stewart is back in the spotlight, and he's not pulling any punches. The man once dubbed the king of satire is going scorched earth on the Democrats again, and this time it's all about their Claw Harris mess-up blunders so wild even Stewart can't hold his laughter anymore.
Where are you going? Literally just walking away like that. Mr. President, I'm sorry. The tribe has spoken.
Who's fed up watching the same sitcom rerun bad plot, worse acting, and zero common sense. According to him, the Dems didn't just trip, they full-on face-planted. And why? Because instead of doing their homework, they showed up to the political final exam with crayons and vibes, no prep, no plan, just hashtags and hope. Now buckle up, because this video is turning up the heat real quick, hotter than a summer meltdown in DC. Before Trump won the election, Democrats were clear-eyed about the stakes. It's time that fascism is called fascism, and Americans know exactly what they're voting for. He is paving the way to become a Vladimir Putin. Rewind back to the Trump era, before the man even won. Democrats and their media megaphones were already losing their minds. Full panic mode, they warned the world if Trump ever touched that Oval Office chair, it would be game over for America. They painted him as the ultimate villain, worse than Putin, the next Hitler, destroyer of democracy, basically the final boss of politics. But here's the kicker: they were so busy screaming about the end of the world, they forgot to actually run a campaign that made sense. Now they're stuck with the fallout, and Jon Stewart, he's sitting front row, popcorn in hand, calling out the whole circus for what it is. Headlines were losing their minds, screaming tyranny like it was the end of the world. Pundits on every network were practically foaming at the mouth, spinning wild theories like it was cable news crack. He is a threat to democracy. He is a clear and present danger to our democracy, to our way of life. The damage may be irreversible, the destruction could be unthinkable, and it would be a betrayal of everything that our framers fought for in Hollywood. They were clutching their pearls tighter than ever, sobbing about how the republic was finished, civil war, collapse, chaos. But guess what? None of that actually happened. The sky didn't fall, the country didn't collapse. Instead, something even wilder happened. Reality hit the elites like a freight train. What followed wasn't destruction, it was exposure, a full-on no-filter reality check that ripped the curtain off their carefully constructed narrative. The system they worked cracked, their media machines busted, and the so-called silent majority wide awake and not playing along anymore. Trump's rise didn't just shake the room, it broke the room. He didn't tiptoe around their expectations, he bulldozed straight through them. The media's cozy little bubble popped, and the power players in DC got caught looking completely lost. Jon Stewart couldn't help himself. He flamed them all, and Chuck Schumer, oh, he got it the worst. Stewart roasted him like it was open mic night at a political comedy club. Why would Chuck look up and make eye contact, he asked, when even he knows he's lying? That's textbook stuff, just like a guilty kid caught in the act. Schumer's face said it all.
He is a threat to democracy.
He is a clear and present danger to our democracy, to our way of life.
The damage may be irreversible, the destruction could be unthinkable, and it would be a betrayal of everything that our framers fought for.
Lying not by their words, but by their body. The nervous fidgeting, the forced smiles, the shifty eyes, the body always snitches. And that's exactly what happened when the left tried to spin their anti-Trump fairy tales into political gold. But instead of convincing the public, it blew up in their faces big time. Their non-stop smear campaign total backfire. The country didn't just ignore the noise. Voters showed up in force for Trump. America had seen enough of the drama and fear-mongering. They weren't scared, they were sick of the games, and Jon Stewart made sure the Dems felt it. He stayed locked in, dragging their hypocrisy with savage precision. He didn't just criticize, he sliced. Stewart exposed every contradiction, every flop, every broken promise, like a man tearing up a failed script on live TV.
You're not even going to look up? You're not even going to... You know, a little eye contact, a little inflection could drive the danger thing. You give it a little urgency.
He reminded everyone watching that flashy speeches and fake narratives mean nothing when your record's trash. Then reality hit like a brick. Trump had won. The media froze. Democrats panicked. They scrambled like kids who forgot there was a test, desperately clinging to whatever excuse they could find, and in their panic, they pinned their hopes on Kamala Harris, the so-called secret weapon. But that planned straight-up fantasy, Kamala's popularity, tanked fast one awkward moment after another, one political fumble at a time, and suddenly the grand plan looked like a desperate Hail Mary with no real wins. To brag about they started throwing parties over scraps, hyping up tiny wins like they just conquered the world, it was straight-up comedy. Symbolic gestures suddenly became historic moments, and media spin that became the strategy. Instead of fixing the mess, they just slapped glitter on it and hope. No one noticed the wreckage behind the curtain.
We're proud of the fact that we've defeated more House Republican incumbents than they've defeated House Democratic incumbents.
We did flip 3 House seats from Republican to Democrat and gained back almost all of those that we had lost in 2022.
This was the same party that once preached revolutionary change. Now they're out here handing out participation trophies and praying the public mistakes it for progress. But the truth, their so-called master plan collapsed in broad daylight. No smoke, no mirrors, just pure exposure. Representative Dan Goldman even tried to flex by claiming they gained back almost all the seats they lost in 2022, like that was something to brag about. Jon Stewart wasn't having it. He torched that claim like it was open mic night at a political roast. Let's be real, I don't envy the Democrats or the woke left right now. They promised a blowout win. They told the public that Trump was finished. They thought they'd painted him into a corner so tight that no one in their right mind would ever vote for him again. But America had other ideas. Now they're left stammering, fumbling through press briefings, trying to force smile while explaining why things didn't go their way. It's a new dynamic. It is a willful brightening this show that we celebrate in our new segment called The Audacity of Cope now. And every time I watch it, I can't help but laugh. The excuse is getting wild disinformation voter suppression, Mercury, and retrograde. They'll say anything except the one thing that actually matters. The people weren't buying what they were selling. The message didn't land. And because the public saw right through the act, yep, no escaping it now, the Democrats are stuck sitting in that loss for the next 4 years. No shortcuts, no media spin, just a cold slap of reality staring them down day after day. And the wildest part, they still don't have a real plan to bounce back. Instead of regrouping, reassessing, and actually learning from the flop, they're doubling down on the same tired, tone-deaf, woke talking points that already had voters heading for the exits. It's like watching someone crash a car, then hop back in with the same busted GPS.
Almost is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Yeah, we almost gained back all we had lost. Almost is kind of a load-bearing adverb, spin-wise, finding a positive in what is clearly not good news.
And here's where it gets really sketchy. Whispers are getting louder about a possible Bernie Sanders and AOC ticket. Yep, that's the Hail Mary they're floating now. And while that might get the Twitter crowd hyped, it's got moderate sweating bullets. It's not building confidence. It's sparking panic. Sure, they're pulling crowds at rallies, but guess who else did? Claw Harris. And we all saw how fast that energy vanished when the votes actually got counted. Rallies or hype elections need leadership. Big difference. Now let's talk about those victory moments they keep forcing down the public's throat. You'd think they just cured something by the way they staged that celebration for a new wave of freshman Congress members. But the vibe flat, completely lifeless. Even the people standing behind the woman at the podium looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Blank faces, awkward body language. No fire, no soul, just 4 smiles and that dry, slow clap that screams. Can we wrap this up already?
It's a new dynamic. It is a willful bright-siding this shit show that we celebrate in our new segment called The Audacity of Cope. Now...
Then he locks in on the youngest Democrat to enter Congress, and man, he lets it rip. No mercy, no soft jabs. Stewart's timing is savage, his tone razor sharp, and the punchlines, they hit like precision strikes. It's not just political critique, it's a full-on roast session that feels like watching a master at work. He doesn't just call her out, he dismantles her talking points with sarcasm, so sharp it could cut glass. Each line leaves less room for a comeback, and by the end, the whole thing feels like a knockout in the first round. This is exactly why Stewart still owns the mic. Nobody does it like him. And here's the thing, this is classic Democrat playbook. Take something small, blow it up like it's world-changing, and hope people are too distracted by the fireworks to notice the lack of substance. So when they heard they had the youngest person in Congress, boom, exaggeration engine activated suddenly. It's not just a freshman rep, it's a revolutionary movement, a political prodigy. But Stewart,
Freshman class alone, and I'm going to stop for cheers for each one of these because they're remarkable. We have our first trans member of Congress. We have an engineer from an immigrant community in the San Fernando Valley.
And neither is the public. All of a sudden, this wasn't just some freshman rep. The media was acting like a political messiah had arrived. They hyped her up like she was the second coming of Washington and Lincoln combined. The press went into full swoon mode, headlines, glowing anchors, repeating the same polished talking points on loop. The hype machine was in overdrive, but once again, the actual substance was Mia, all flash, no follow-through. It was all historic, this and game-changing that, but beneath the buzzwords, nothing, and the public saw it clear as day. Another round of style beating out substance, but this time folks weren't falling for it. Meanwhile, miles away from the chaos, President Biden was deep in the Amazon rainforest, no joke. While his party tried to spin victory out of thin air, he was literally in the jungle doing what exactly? Good question. Climate stunt, random diplomacy trip, just another misdirection play. Nobody really knows.
We have the first Iranian American Democrat in Congress. We have the youngest member ever elected to the House from New Jersey.
But beneath the buzzwords, nothing, and the public saw it clear as day. Another round of style beating out substance, but this time folks weren't falling for it. Meanwhile, miles away from the chaos, President Biden was deep in the Amazon rainforest, no joke. While his party tried to spin victory out of thin air, he was literally in the jungle doing what exactly? Good question. Climate stunt, random diplomacy trip, just another misdirection play. Nobody really knows. History is literally watching us now, so let's preserve this secret place for our time and forever for the benefit of all humanity. Thank you very, very much. But what we do know is this: it didn't take long for things to get weird like clockwork. The trip featured one of those classic Biden blunders that always go viral. Maybe he wandered away from his security team again. Maybe he forgot the name of the rainforest while standing in it, or maybe he mumbled his way through a press statement that made zero sense. Pick your moment. They all fit. It's becoming his trademark at this point. The confused look, the missteps, the off-script mumbling. And it always seems to happen when the cameras are rolling. It's no wonder the country keeps asking who's really running the show back home. At this point, it's basically routine. Every time President Biden steps in front of a camera, it feels like a coin toss. Will he stay on track, or will things go sideways again? And while the country deals with real problems, inflation, border chaos, international drama, what do we get? Clips of the commander-in-chief looking totally lost in the literal jungle. You couldn't make this up. There, he was deep in the Amazon, wandering off like someone who forgot why he even showed up, aimless, unfocused, just drifting both physically and mentally. And what did the media say? Where are you going? Applause. Literally just walking away like that. Mr. President, I'm sorry, the tribe has spoken. He's doing great, sharp as ever. Really, this is peak performance. That's not leadership. That's cause for concern. They tried to sell him to the American people like a polished new product, refreshed experience, presidential. But the reality was leaking out through every awkward step and off-script mumble. It was only thanks to everyday citizens, fearless commentators, and independent voices that the truth kept surfacing loud and clear. Let's be real, if the corporate press had full control of the narrative, Biden would be labeled a visionary leader. That awkward rainforest moment wiped, erased, never happened. They'd have you believing he was planting trees while solving climate change with a handshake. But nope, the footage exists and people saw it. You can't erase that blank stare. You can't spin the slurred words or the lost expressions. Reality always finds a way to break through the PR fog. The American public isn't blind. They've seen what's really going on. The illusion is breaking. The so-called steady hand is slipping, and no amount of puff pieces or flattering headlines can cover up what millions have already watched unfold with their own eyes. In the end, the Democrats fumbled again, and badly. They overplayed their hand, betting big on flash, hoping no one would notice the lack of follow-through, from hyping Kamala Harris like she was the next political superstar to pushing the youngest member of Congress as some revolutionary force. It all fell flat. The crowd wasn't cheering. They were cringing, and Jon Stewart, he wasn't letting any of it slide. His ruthless takedowns didn't just mock the hype. They ripped it apart. Every punchline dug deeper into the truth. This wasn't leadership, it was theater, and the act was getting old. They tried to run the same tired play: identity politics, fear-driven messaging, media, smoke and mirrors. But this time the voters weren't buying it. Trump's return to power caught them off guard, and now the left's scrambling, looking for answers in a playbook that clearly doesn't work anymore. The message from the public couldn't be louder. If the Democrats want a real comeback, they're going to need way more than Media buzz and flashy headlines, they'll need something they've been dodging for years: real honesty, real leadership, and a serious wake-up call from the echo chamber they've been trapped in. So yeah, that wraps up today's video. If you found it as wild as we did, smash that like button and hit subscribe for more bold breakdowns just like this. We're just getting started, and you don't want to miss what's coming.